From the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
These are the cybersecurity headlines for Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. I'm Rich Straffolino. Persistent prompts prove potentially pernicious. Researchers at Anthropic and Switzerland's EPFL published research showing that self-propagating payloads can spread between AI agents through the persistent memory files that agent frameworks like OpenClaw use to carry state across sessions. In one recorded test, Claude Haiku 4.5 agents running OpenClaw's default configuration deleted an entire home directory, including credentials and SSH keys, after a payload reframed the shared workspace as needing cleanup. Susceptibility varied by model rather than its capability. A one-paragraph warning added to the system prompt cut propagation to near zero. And there's no evidence of successful spread in the wild, at least so far. The malware is coming from inside Microsoft. Researchers at Ontinue Cyber Defense Center detailed a new malware framework called TwinLoot. What makes TwinLoot stand out is that it uses Microsoft services to live off the land for essentially its entire command and control infrastructure. This includes using SharePoint Online and Microsoft Graph APIs for C2 communication, Microsoft Teams Turn Relay infrastructure for access, and the Edge browser itself to disguise Graph API communications. The researchers discovered TwinLoot back in July and found that it could harvest Windows credentials with fake lock screens, provide lateral network access, execute arbitrary commands, and create persistent network presence on infected machines. The researchers warned that the only way to distinguish TwinLoot traffic is to look for deviations from baselines on traffic to trusted services. Irregular releases AI sandbox escape post-mortem. We've covered recent AI agent sandbox escapes impacting all the big names, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta over the past few weeks. Now, we're finally hearing from the one common component in all of these incidents, the company Irregular, which partners with Frontier Labs to stress test AI models for security risks, ironically enough. Irregular chalks this up to good old human oversight. Irregular only detailed one element on the Anthropic incident, saying that the same underlying issue with the single evaluation scenario meant that they were not materially separate instances, hence why it didn't go into detail on each. In Anthropic's case, it set up a scenario with a fictional entity and only later learned that the name unintentionally matched the domain of a real company. In response, Irregular says it plans to improve documentation of evaluation setups, improve log monitoring tools to track the amount of data generated by agent traffic, and revise threat models to better account for rogue AI behavior. Copilot might tell you how to hack it. It seems that the Achilles heels for many an LLM might be good old human persistence. Researchers at Varonis Threat Labs released details about a new vulnerability it's calling CoSnitch, which ultimately tricked the LLM into exfiltrating sensitive data and poisoning its memory. This used an approach called meta-hacking, using social engineering against the AI's reasoning engine. The researchers asked Copilot how it could pass pre-populated text fields directly into Copilot with no user interaction, using a feature that Microsoft had previously disabled. After persistent questioning, Copilot eventually provided technical details on why the feature didn't work, listed what was disabled, and then showed a previously undocumented parameter that let the researchers perform the desired action. It provided the session conditions needed to make auto-execution work, and eventually showed how to bypass additional content filters. The researchers then showed how to use this to further poison Copilot's persistent memory. Varonis informed Microsoft of the flaw back in December with a patch released yesterday. And now a huge thanks to our sponsor for today, Vanta. Your GRC team is dealing with more and more frameworks, vendors, and risk. The board wants it all in one place, but your compliance data lives all over. Vanta's agentic trust platform connects compliance, risk, and trust at enterprise scale and delivers a 526% ROI over 3 years. 16,000 plus companies trust Vanta, including Snowflake, Atlassian, and Ramp. Visit vanta.com/CISO to learn more. Cyber attacks target agency managing seized Russian assets. Ukraine's Asset Recovery and Management Agency, otherwise known as ARMA, announced that it's been targeted by cyber attacks this week. This agency managed seized assets from sanctioned Russian individuals and organizations. Ukraine Security Service, SBU, is investigating the incident, and ARMA has not attributed the attack, at least so far. The attacks come as Armor prepares to select a manager for the seized corporate rights to IDS Ukraine, a large producer of bottled mineral water that was seized from Russian shareholders in late 2022. It's unclear whether these cyber attacks are related to that process. China pulling the plug early on Windows. Bloomberg sources say that the Chinese Ministry of State Security required some state-linked entities to uninstall a state-sanctioned customized Windows 10 operating system from local machines. That version of Windows was developed by C&M Information Technologies, a joint venture with Microsoft and a state-owned Chinese company, and was originally set to retire in February 2027. The early retirement reportedly stems from data security concerns, although, surprise, surprise, the Chinese ministry did not provide further details. Microsoft ended support for the standard version of Windows 10 in late 2025. Windows task host flaw used by ransomware operators. Back in November 2025, Microsoft patched a Windows privilege escalation flaw that targeted the Windows task host component. Even though it's been patched, threat actors are still targeting this high-severity vulnerability. CISA has now confirmed that ransomware groups are actively exploiting the flaw since at least April, although they were light on further details. Once exploited, attackers with any kind of user permissions can further gain system privileges to take full control of devices. CISA added the flaw to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog late last week, but Microsoft has not yet updated its security advisory to confirm exploitation in the wild. Medusa ransomware victim list grows. CISA and the FBI updated their advisory on the Medusa ransomware group, claiming they've hit over 500 victims, with 300 attacked in 2025. The group gained visibility back in April when its attack shut down the University of Mississippi Medical Center, the only children's hospital and level 1 trauma center in the state. This seems to be a trend for the group, as CISA now says the group has focused efforts on healthcare and exploiting newly discovered vulnerabilities within 24 hours. There's no evidence that Medusa actually develops its own 0 days, but it seems adept at quickly leveraging newly announced exploits before victims can patch. Since that April attack, Medusa has not updated its leak site, likely due to increased scrutiny from law enforcement. Remember to join us this Friday for Super Cyber Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be spending an hour talking about hacking productivity with AI, digging into all the new tools that are out there, how to make the most of the LLMs you're already using, and how to stay on top of what's new in the field. Head on over to the events page at CISOseries.com to register, and we'll see you this Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you have some thoughts about the news from today or about the show in general, reach out to us, feedback@CISOseries.com. We would truly love to hear from you. Reporting for the CISO Series, I'm Rich Straffolino, reminding you to have a super sparkly day.
Cybersecurity headlines are available every weekday. Head to CISOseries.com for the full stories behind the headlines.